Okay, so this will be the second session of the PNO 100. Okay, so the course is basically about two sessions. That's PNO 100. It's foundational, remember. And the first one, what we tried to do is to get a good overview of the anatomy of the keyboard to understand the names of the keys, particularly whether it's an electronic keyboard you're working with, whether it is a digital piano, whether it's a grand piano. The rules are the same. And like we mentioned in that class, before you can actually get to play the instrument, you have to know the names of the keys. It is the process of knowing or understanding the principle behind how the keys are named. That is what we refer to as piano key nomenclature. Okay, so that is one of the things we talked about in the first session. The key nomenclature helps us to know what key is C. For instance, some persons erroneously say C is the first white key, when the first white key you see on a keyboard. And they do that thinking because of a 5-octave keyboard, most of the times beginning from C, but that is not correct exactly. C has a particular definition, and that definition in the last class we looked at the white key before the group of two blacks. Anywhere you see, and this is consistent regardless the piano, anywhere you see two black keys, the white key that is just before those two black keys, that is the key of C. Okay, so very important that that be established, that be understood also once we are looking at the anatomy and nomenclature of the piano keyboard. Keep in mind, the piano is quite a simple instrument too, but like every other instrument, the very first thing is to understand it. You have to understand the instrument, understand the principles behind it, and really understanding it is not so much as a theoretical thing as it is something that is based on experience. It means you have to experience the instrument in some personal way. You have to whatever thing theoretically you read about or you hear about, what value it has for you as the student or the learner of the instrument is what value you make music with out of it. The very first thing again to quickly say is that it's a musical instrument, and every musical instrument, the basic rule for all of them is that you have to make music out of them. So you haven't really learned, there's no relevance of any theory or topic you learn if you cannot make some music out of it. You can't have some fun with it. Okay, so in this class today, there are a couple of things I'm going to introduce, though it is a foundational subject, lesson, and topic, but there are certain things which some advanced performers or players would somewhat be interested in, even in these basic things. So, for one who is a basic learner, a beginner, it will be quite useful if you can develop the appropriate professional mindset towards the instrument. Like we said, the first thing to note is that every instrument contains musical keys. Musical keys in themselves are only symbols, they are representations. A musical key is not in itself the sound. For instance, the key C is not in itself the sound, it is the representation of a particular sound. So, the keys are just representations of definite tones. Now, when we say definite tones in music, we are particularly referring to frequencies, pitch. That is a sound of a particular or definite frequency. Sound of a definite or particular frequency. Okay, so also, like we mentioned in the last lesson, when we looked at the keyboard, and we mentioned that earlier on today as well in the overview, that you don't really get to say this is key C, this is key F. Some persons tend to say the first key, white key on the keyboard, but that is incorrect. If you get to a grand piano, for instance, the first white key on a grand piano is not C. You see, so you have to first and foremost understand that the first white key is in relation to the black keys. That is the white key before the group of two black keys. That is actually what is C. The white key before the group of two black keys, that is C. White before two black keys. And just as F is the white before the group of three black keys. So you have to understand how the instrument is broken down, the anatomical structure of the instrument. Two blacks and then there's a white, three blacks. So it's grouped into two blacks and three blacks, groups of two blacks and groups of three blacks. That landmark helps us to name. And we mentioned in the overview that the process of understanding the aspect when we talk about understanding the naming system, the principle behind the naming of the keys, that is what we refer to as key nomenclature. Is a general thing musically. Now, in respect to the piano, we refer to it as piano anatomy and the key nomenclature. How the keys are laid out on the piano, that is the anatomy of the piano in this context, and the key naming, the principle behind naming these keys. So that is why we say first thing anatomically you have group of two keys and group of three black keys, group of two blacks and group of three blacks, repeating on the keyboard. Now, nomenclature says that wherever you see the group of two blacks, the white before them is C. That is first rule, basic. You have to understand that. You get it. Now, following that, in the last class, we gave what we refer to as key identification exercises. Key identification exercises are simple exercises which helps the students to juggle his memory concerning the names of the keys. In that other class, also that first class, we talked about the key names being A, B, C, D, E, F, G for natural keys, and F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and D sharp for the sharp keys. We also talked about flat keys being G flat, A flat, B flat, D flat, and E flat, and said every of the sharp keys are enharmonically, that is, they share the same name with one particular sharp key. F sharp, for instance, is the same as a G flat, and all that we talked about in the previous class. Now, today in this session, we are going to be looking at how to make whatever it is we've learned in that first session. Now we know the names of the keys. We want to look at how do you make certain musical form out of that basic instruction of the names of the keys. And that is where we'll be introducing what we refer to as the piano fingering techniques. The piano fingering techniques. There are quite a number of beginner techniques we have in Rehearsal House that we've listed in our curriculum. So, but for this particular session, we are going to be looking at just one of that technique, and that technique is also known as the C pentascale technique. I said also known because we in RH we refer to it generally as natural key, beginner natural key technique, because every key that we are going to use for this particular technique, they are based on the natural keys. You don't have any sharp or flat keys, they are all natural keys. Now, the pentascale is a scale or series of 5 notes, just the first 5 notes which you have. In this case, for C pentascale, would be C, D, E, F, and G. It is different from pentatonic major or pentatonic minor scale. They are different. Pentascale is simply do, re, mi, fa, sol in the tone, in the melodic tone of the pentascale. Okay, so and we will develop these things further, and our emphasis here in this particular lesson is not the pentascale per se, but the fingering technique. So we are only using this. That is why I emphasize that we usually call it the natural key technique. You understand? Just for the sake of clarity, that is why we're using the pentascale technique for it as well. Okay, so now a few things are important to associate with this particular scale, especially when we want to make it musical. Now, the first thing which we have to do is note the tones of the scale. That is, in this case, C, D, E, F, G. So if I'm playing here, my notes of interest C, D, E, F, G. I turn this keyboard on, and my notes of interest C, D, C, D, E, F, and G. That is my note. Those are the notes of interest. So C, D, E, F, and G. Now, but the piano is meant to be played with both the right hand and the left hand, and all the five fingers on the right and all the five fingers on the left. A big challenge for many persons who have somewhat started not on the right note is they have learned using the wrong fingers. For instance, they may be holding their chords and holding it this way, and it's not the correct way to hold this particular C major chord. Okay, and or a root position of inversion chord. Now, there are certain breakaway from the rules which you would meet at every time. So, but at this level and even much later, you are not exactly going to meet unless you have something like this. You see, an exception to the rule I just stated. Now, I've changed what I said is incorrect. Somehow, I've found a an application. You understand? So, that is the thing with piano music. You don't just go rules head on. You must know to what extent is this rule practically applicable. You must know that it gets to a particular point, the rule is exempted. You understand? So, but at this particular point, I'm trying to drive at something. If you haven't gotten your fingering correctly, then what we're about to do is going to help you into correcting those fingers. For those who are just starting, they have no problem of trying to unlearn or correct anything. Now, the pentascale technique, fingering technique, is one of the first things which any piano student has to do. And the idea of the technique is to build your fingers. The idea is not exactly to jam a lot of things, it's to build your fingers. You might know things in your head which you learn in the class theoretically to do, but your fingers will keep saying, hey, we can't do this. I haven't gotten the skill to do that. You want your finger to play a melodic line like this. You want to do that. You want your fingers to do a couple of things, but then it doesn't have the skill. You want to you want your fingers to do that. You want your fingers to even to do whatever it is you want to do. You could have a tone. For instance, I am playing, and then I want da, 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 now, whatever it is my mouth is saying, and my head knows I'm doing da 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 da. Now, my hand, my fingers wants to do that, but if it doesn't have the skill, if it hasn't been trained, from today till tomorrow, it's just going to keep saying to my brain, I know what you want me to do is a very fantastic thing, but I haven't gotten the skill to do it. You understand? So the very first thing to do when you've known the names of your keys, you've known the location of keys at every tone, it becomes next important is to know uh, to train the fingers to be able to do whatever. You understand? Fingering techniques, fingering training is not something that ends at this first stage of piano 100. You're going to keep doing it so long as you're playing the instrument. You're actually training your fingers. There are certain things which uh, that there's a style of what you genre of piano you would be playing, and you require some firm wrist action. And there are some genre you'll be playing, you require that firm wrist action is not what you need. You need your wrist to be somewhat loose. You understand? So certain times we want to play a particular piece and we are having difficulties playing that piece. What is missing is not what we are looking at, even when it's on score. What is missing is the technique. You're using the wrong fingering technique to play it. You can interpret it correctly, but your fingering technique is wrong. You understand? You're having to do a you're having to do that. action. But requires the wrist to be slightly loose. You understand? Certain other things requires it to be even much more loose and all that. You understand? So that is the meaning of technique. So technique comes up throughout. You just keep learning as you play intelligently. You'll be able to know that okay, this is what is coming here. So today we are just looking at the basic, the beginner technique, and that first beginner technique is the C pentascale technique. It's built on the key of C, and it just has 5 notes: C, D, E, F, G. If you rightly play it, it should give you the tone of C, D, E, F, G. C, D, E, F, G. That is what it should give you. Now, but to play this correctly, we have to synchronize a particular right hand fingering to it. What fingers of the right hand are we to use to play these notes? Particularly, remember the idea is to build up the fingers of both right and left. We also have to synchronize what fingers of the left hand should we use to play the notes. Now, the moment we know we are talking, RHF stands for right hand fingering and LHF left hand fingering. The moment we are talking about right hand fingers to use to build and left hand fingers to use to build, immediately the next question we have to attend to is if we have that, how then what's the numbering system of the right hand and the left hand? That brings us to the nomenclature of fingering or piano fingering nomenclature. Piano fingering nomenclature. Now, piano uses a very simple fingering nomenclature, very, very simple. And it goes thus that the thumb is finger number 1. The thumb, whether right or left, every thumb is finger number 1. The forefinger is finger number 2. Whether right or left, every forefinger is finger number 2. The middle finger is finger number 3. The middle finger is finger number 3. The ring finger is finger number 4. And the pinky or the small finger is finger number 5. That's finger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thumb is 1, forefinger is 2, middle finger is 3, ring finger is 4, and the pinky finger is finger number 5 or the small finger. Now, the next thing which is important in the pentascale is what we still under piano fingering nomenclature is what we refer to as the correspondence of fingers. That is, how do the fingers of the right and left work together? Correspondence of fingers. There is a rule to how fingers on the right hand and fingers on the left hand should work together. And the rule is simple that the right hand fingers, RHF and LHF, right hand finger 1, work with finger number 5. So it means when I'm playing C with my finger number 1 on the right, my left is to play C with finger number 5. So 1 to go with 5. 1 to go with 5. Now, finger number 2 takes 4, right for left. Finger number 3 right goes with 3 left. Number 4 right goes with 2 left. And number 5 right goes with 1 left. And that is what you have. Correspondence of fingers, right hand and left hand. So 1 for 5, 2 for 4, right to left, 3 for 3, 4 for 2, and 5 for 1, right to left. Now, this is what we have as the correspondence of fingers. We bring this idea now to understanding our fingering for pentascale, C pentascale, which we are using to remember, train to build the fingers. The fingers must be built. It's like workout session of the piano fingers. You understand? It's like your workout session. Now, for this particular approach we're looking at considering pentascale, key of C would take finger number 1 on the right, which means equivalent to 5 on the left. D will take finger number 2, which means 4 on the left, 2 on the right. E will take finger number 3 on the right, which means 3 on the left. And F will take finger number 4 on the right, which means 2 on the left. And G will take finger number 5 on the right, which means 1 on the left. So C, D, E, F, G. Strictly speaking, for this technique, this exercise, it does not apply to your C major scale. For instance, your C major scale is going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, it doesn't apply to that. This is different. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It ends strictly on 5, like the Sisters Act. Da 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 da. You see, da 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 da. Simple thing like that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Strictly speaking, for this C pentascale. Then the left hand goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. Da 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 da. For C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. That is the left. Okay, so right goes that and left goes that. So that is how it goes. You take the two together. Haven't practiced. We'll get soon into the practical considerations, how to practice shortly after this moment. So before we move to practical considerations, one more thing. If we are going to, and this is very important, beginners should know this, should understand this. It is something which even the advanced players will would enjoy with any beginner exercise, and that is what is called timing. In music, it's also known as note valuation, bringing note values into your playing. Now, you notice that this simple da, 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 da. Imagine I'm going to make something and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to keep the count up to 4, just 1, 2, 3, 4, and like a metronome. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now you see that somehow it sounds like you're making music. It's the same thing. So what I've only introduced is timing, note valuation to one hand. Now, assuming I do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What I simply did is bring in rhythm, make it musical. That's the rule with everything you learn. Make it musical. You suddenly realize that instinctively you want to add some extra notes. Instinctively you want to do something like this. You want to do certain things which you've not even learned, and be free to do that. Be free, explore it. But ensure that you have gotten the skill. The skill is the essence of the exercise. If you haven't gotten the skill, things will come to your head, but you must be in control of it. Man is never made to become under control of things. Man is made to always bring things under control. You understand? So now we're going to talk about maybe just one or two note values in the next practical consideration workshop session, and we'll just explore those two note values in the context of this lesson. All right, thank you.